Hi, everyone. This is like the fifth time I've recorded this. It's very irritating. But today we're going to be talking about Pinterest. Again, it's another Pinterest mailbag and interaction on Pinterest. And I've kind of consolidated the questions that people have sent me about how many followers do you need? Do I have to talk to people? That kind of thing. The good thing about Pinterest is it's not really social media. So you can post links to pages that you have, either your listings or blog articles or whatever. And you don't really need to expect that a lot of people will be contacting you about that. But there is an option for people usually to comment on pins or to send you messages. So you need to be aware that that is kind of part of it, but it's a very 0.01% part of being on Pinterest. In general, you're not going to have to deal with people directly, but you might. So let's talk about some of that. The first question someone asked is, can someone block you on Pinterest, or can you block someone? The only time I've ever seen an option to block a profile on Pinterest, and I could be wrong about this, I went in and looked around. I couldn't find a place where you can specifically block a profile, but there might be one. But if you do, it's usually when someone sends you a spam message, and there is a place there to report the message. And I'm not sure, since I didn't have someone send me a spam message, I can't test this out to see what it shows me. But I think that you can block a profile that way. Like you can report and block, or you can just report the person and then the profile won't be able to contact you anymore. But in general, there's not that much interaction with people. And if someone continues to send you messages, then you can report them and Pinterest will take care of it. And you can contact Pinterest support about it if someone is really harassing you. Which leads into the second question. Can people see your activity on Pinterest? Can they stalk you on Pinterest? Can they see if someone blocked you? You know, that kind of how much personal interaction is there on Pinterest where people can see your activity? You can make a Pinterest profile private, I believe, and I've never tested this out again, but if you want to have a private profile, you can set it up that way, I think. I've never seen one unless people are underage. But in general, people can see your pins and they can see what you save because they can go to your account and they can see your boards. But you can make boards secret. So if you have boards that you don't want people to see what you've saved, you can just lock them so that it's a private board. You're the only one who can see it. And even if there's not a way to make your whole profile private, you can make all your boards private if you don't want people seeing what you save. So that is an option. If you have a stalker, I would not create a public profile with your name. I would use a different name. And there have been situations in my groups where people have actually had a real life stalker. And so you have to take different precautions. So just be aware of that. But you can make boards private and you can report people if they are sending you messages and harassing you. You can do that. So there are ways to make things private, but it's, for the most part, if you have a business, it's going to be difficult to use any social media and keep people from seeing that, because the point of social media is for people to see your business activity. And that's the downside. And there might be a point where you need to get law enforcement involved and let the police in their town know what they're doing. Just take that into consideration. But you can report people to Pinterest and you can make boards secret if for your private, your private account. If you don't want them to see your private information, then you can do that. Okay. Another question comes up a lot is, how many followers do you need on Pinterest? And honestly, not many, because the way that Pinterest works, it's like, think of Pinterest as like a giant Venn diagram that just goes on forever. So let's say that I'm posting something about beaded bracelets. So I post a pin about beaded bracelets. That beaded bracelet topic is going to fit into jewelry. It's going to fit into accessories. It's going to fit into women's fashion. It's going to fit into men's fashion. It's going to fit into all these other different topics that overlap. All right. So you've got all of these different topics. And what happens is, if you have 0 followers, but you have pins out there, and someone sees one of your pins in their feed because they have liked a pin or they've interacted with a pin about bracelets, let's say women's fashion, right? women's fashion bracelets, they've interacted with that. If there's any kind of overlap with your pin and the keywords in it and the topic and there's a lot of SEO that goes into Pinterest. It's not that hard though. And if there's any overlap with your pin and the things that they've interacted with, Pinterest could show them your pins even if they're not your follower. So your pins are going to be seen by people even if you don't have legitimate 100% people who follow you. You know, it'll be shown to people who have the same interests. And that's like, it's your pins of your interest, Pinterest, right? So you don't need a lot of followers to get a lot of traffic on Pinterest. And I don't even I have no idea how many followers I have. I don't know. I have 3 business accounts on Pinterest. I just converted one personal account to a business account the other day. And I have no idea how many followers I have on any of them because it really doesn't matter. So you don't need to worry about that because followers are not the only way that you get Pinterest views, basically. That's not how it works. Okay. I'm going to do this one first. Do you interact with people on Pinterest? Well, I think you should. Okay. It's rare. It's very rare that someone will leave a comment on a pin. But sometimes, like, depending on what niche you're in, recipes, people like to comment on how their recipe turned out. I'm not sure how many of you who are watching this are going to be doing recipes. I have one website where I do some recipes, and I do get people who comment every now and then on how the recipe turned out. Luckily, I write good recipes, so it's usually fairly positive. But every now and then you'll get somebody who says, oh, this didn't work for me. And then you can go in and answer them, or you can say thanks to the people that said it did work out. If people leave you questions, I've had people leave questions about things, and it's rare. It happens. I actually got a comment today. Somebody left a comment asking a question. I answered it, and that was it. But you don't have to go back and forth. It's not the kind of thing where people send a lot of messages on Pinterest. It's just not expected that that's something that's going to happen a lot. So you do have to interact a little bit. You don't have to. Let me clarify. You don't have to answer the questions. I think it's good to, though, because people appreciate an answer if they ask a question, or if they have a comment, they appreciate a comment. Just, saying thanks for leaving the information or whatever. But you don't have to. And it's definitely not expected that there's going to be a lot of interaction on Pinterest, because that's really not how the platform works. Okay, so there you go. Now, the last question, I am going to get a cough drop because I have a cough. The last question is about joining group boards on Pinterest. Well, excuse me. And see, this is why I need a cough drop. No, I would say no. At this point, I would not worry about group boards. Group boards used to be a thing. And it depends. If you find a group board that is very active and that people actually share your content, the point of a group board is that you post your pins, and then everybody else on the group board is supposed to save them and share them so that other people will see it. That's how they started out years ago. It used to be a big thing. Everybody would join group boards. It's not like that anymore. Generally what happens, and I've started a couple of group boards myself and ended up deleting them because people just post garbage on there. I hate to say it. They just post a bunch of pins that never get any interaction, and they never share anything else from the board. So they're just like posting on the group board. They're never coming to the group board to share other things and to save other people's pins. So there's really not a whole lot of point of pinning to a board that never gets any saves. And it can drag your account down if you've got boards that are just full of garbage. I don't know for sure that matters to Pinterest as a whole, but I can't see that it benefits you in any way. So I do not do group boards. I don't participate in them. They've also become harder to find. And I think that if you use some of the third-party scheduling tools, they have group boards within those. But it's hard. I mean, if you can find a group board, this is what I was going to say. If you can find a group board that is active and people actually save each other's pins, then try it. It's not going to hurt if the board is active and useful. But in my experience, most group boards on Pinterest these days are just dead weight, and there's no reason to spend your time even making pins for them. because you have to, when you pin a pin once, you shouldn't pin it again. That's just how that goes. So why make a pin for a board that's not going to get any results and it's just full of dead wood? It's not a good use of your time. So I would say do not pin to group boards. Don't waste your time with them unless you have found a unicorn group board that is very active and actually people do use them the right way. And you don't know until you actually try it out, but I wouldn't waste my time. Honestly, I would not waste my time with group boards these days. That could change in the future. It used to be that they were great, now not so much. So it's just not something that I spend time on. Okay, so that's it for today with the interactions, and I will do more of these coming up. If you would like to take my Pinterest class, the link is in the description. I go into excellent detail, I have to say. And leave me any questions if you want me to address something coming up. Leave those in the comments, and I will talk to you later.